Fpyq. Chapter 23. Ripple. As Qi Yunruo slipped on his robes, his ears caught the telltale sound of falling rain. Indeed, it was raining. He confirmed this once he stepped foot outside. Lulan retrieved a large umbrella. Today is chilly. Young master should put on more clothes. He calculated the date. Today should be His Highness' day of break. Lulan nodded. After they were fully dressed and prepared for the weather, they set out. As they did, Qi Yunruo turned his head toward the lake. He gazed at the ripples upon its surface that resembled lilies in bloom. He rubbed at his head, trying to soothe his slight headache. His mind seemed to clear after he took in the cold air around him. Parked outside Winter Plum Courtyard were a few sedans. Lulan's expression darkened when she noticed them. Yet Qi Yunruo's complexion did not change as he stepped through the gates, wet, puddle-like footprints trailing him. Far away, he could make out the sound of laughter and chatter from the main chamber. Once he was closer, he realized Li Chen was inside, sitting close to Qi Nikan. Feet clad in slippers, he leaned against a chaise lounge. Surrounded by all his concubines, Li Chen seemed lazy and leisurely. Qi Yunruo was unaware of what they had been talking about before. He watched as Consort Ji covered her mouth with a handkerchief, laughing to the point where her eyes resembled crescents. On Qi Nikan's lips danced also a smile. All of a sudden, Qi Yunruo stopped in his tracks by the door. He felt awkward. He could not bring himself to walk in there and spoil the merry atmosphere. His body was clearly present, but his heart had already run away. "Little Qi is here," said Li Chen when he caught sight of him, a smile on his lips. While Li Chen was speaking, Qi Yunruo had lowered his head, not paying attention. He looked at his shoes that had been soaked by the rain and the wet corner of his robes. And he felt the sadness in his heart rush out, bent on swallowing him whole. Lulan nudged him. She said softly, "His Highness and Her Highness have told your honored self to enter." Qi Yunruo lifted his head and walked inside. The moment after Li Chen had asked him to enter, the other people in the room stopped their chatter. The stool from yesterday had already been moved. Qi Nikan smiled as she said to Li Chen, "This concubine has yet to inform your highness that these past few days, this concubine has added a few new rules. Without rules, there will be no order. If the members of the harem are too indolent, it would not do well for outsiders to see. From now on, this concubine's third brother should pay respects in the morning." For a moment, Li Chen stayed silent. Then he said, "Then let's go with what the princess consort has decided." A smile grazed Qi Nikan's lips. She gestured for Qi Yunruo to come closer. "Come sit with me. Li Yubai, bring a chair to my side." "Yes." Qi Yunruo went over to sit on the little stool. He pulled the ends of his robes down to cover his drenched feet. After a period of silence, Consort Ji smiled. "Previously, His Highness said Jing has become robust. He likes to eat everything but cannot yet chew pork. This concubine has told the kitchens to stew meat until they are tender and scattered into pieces. To feed him a small bowl of it every time. Now he's excited for his meals, always waiting eagerly for it." Consort Wei smiled. "Sons will be like their father. His Highness also likes to eat meat." Consort Ji was surprised that Consort Wei would follow her topic of conversation. Once more did a smile blossom on her lips. Younger sister Consort Wei has said it correctly. The more this concubine looks at Jing the more he takes after His Highness. Currently, Li Jing was Li Chen's only son. 2 years ago, he had been sickly, but last year he started to grow healthier, with a hearty appetite. Now, he was as active as the other children his age. Li Chen's smile grew brighter. He said to Qi Nikan, "Sons cannot be pampered. In the future, when you socialize with the other households, make sure that some of them have children close in age with Jing. To fight and play with other children will be good for him. Climbing some trees and catching some butterflies is fine too. This way, he will grow up well. Qi Nikan rose to her feet and curtsied. This concubine will remember. Yet Consort Ji's expression darkened. As a secondary consort, she must watch Jing but her child would call Qi Nikan his mother. Qi Nikan was also the one who would look for playmates for Jing. Qi Yunruo had kept his head low as he listened to Li Chen and the others speak. He sat in a conspicuous place, yet he seemed invisible in others' eyes. Qi Yunruo felt more and more that it was unbearable to sit here. Yet, because no one announced that they would leave, he could not rise and do so. Fortunately, a while later Li Chen called for the morning meal to be served. And he said he would stay at Winter Plum Courtyard to eat. Out of all the concubines, only Consort Ji and Consort Wei remained. The rest had curtsied before returning. As Qi Yunruo rose to his feet and prepared to leave, Li Chen looked at him in surprise. He smiled and said, "Little Qi should also not have eaten yet. Have something to warm your body before you go." "That's correct," said Qi Nikan. "Why is third brother being so polite?" As such, Qi Yunruo could only stay. Consort Wei did not speak, only gently smiling, following the prince and Qi Nikan to the side chamber for their meals. As she did, she held Xiao Qiao's hand for support. Her strides were slow. Consort Ji stared at Qi Yunruo, her gaze reflecting her uncertainty as to why Li Chen had invited the other to the meal. She laughed coldly, holding Pei Er's hand for support as she followed Consort Wei. Breakfast was lean pork congee, 4 dishes of green leafy vegetables, and a plate of thin pancakes. After giving birth, Qi Nikan had a bowl of bird nest soup every day to nourish her body. For her, it could not be considered luxurious. Qi Yunruo was not a fan of congee with meat in it. Whenever he had a taste, it felt as if he were forcing down bitter medicine. Several times, Li Chen would look his way, picking up on Qi Yunruo's preference. But he only turned to look at Qi Nikan for a moment. He did not voice a comment. After their meal, Li Chen stood and prepared to return to the forecourt. "Little Qi, come follow me out." In an instant, Qi Nikan's expression froze. The rain has yet to stop. How about younger brother stay until the rain lets up? However, Li Chen only smiled. Little Qi clothes are dirty, so it's better for him to quickly return and change. With that, Qi Nikan did not say anything more. She watched as Qi Yunruo followed Li Chen, an umbrella in his hands. Consort Wei also excused herself. 4 strong eunuchs brought over her sedan to the main entrance. Consort Ji paused for a moment, before saying, "May your highness, the princess consort, allow this concubine to stay here for a while longer." To which Qi Nikan lightly replied, "You are most welcome." The two returned inside to sit. A sigh escaped Consort Ji's lips. "Has your highness, the princess consort, realized that the way his highness treats young master Xiao Qi is different from the way he treats us? It has been 4 years since this concubine entered this estate. Yet never have I seen such a look in his highness' eyes." Although it appeared that the prince had looked at Qi Yunruo inadvertently, if Qi Yunruo so much as furrowed his brows, the prince would lightly frown as well. If Qi Yunruo's complexion ever seemed the slightest bit good, the prince would follow in a smile. Consort Ji anxiously said, "Your highness, the princess consort, should think of a way to handle this as soon as possible." Qi Nikan shot her a stare. "Why haven't you thought of a counterattack?" Consort Ji smiled bitterly. If this concubine had measures, would this concubine have been suppressed by Ji Huan? This concubine is only a secondary consort. Yet your honored self is His Highness main consort with a title of first-ranked honored lady bestowed by the imperial palace. A proper daughter-in-law of the direct imperial line. Just one word from your honored self has more weight than the words of all us combined. That's true. While the prince was not yet head over heels for Qi Yunruo, while the prince would soon not be present at the estate. This indeed was the most opportune time to do something. Qi Nikan inhaled deeply, her gaze cold. A while later, she nodded. You've got a point. Qi Yunruo held the umbrella high, his arm reaching toward the sky. Li Chen was built large and tall. As Qi Yunruo walked by his side, he felt that all the energy he had received from eating breakfast was already expended. Once they stepped foot out of Winter Plum Courtyard, Li Chen stopped in his tracks. With a smile, he shook his head. Then he took the umbrella from Qi Yunruo's hands and held it himself. The eunuchs by his side approached to take the umbrella, but Li Chen refused their efforts. He threw an arm around Qi Yunruo, pulled him close and said, "We're going to your residence." "Oh." Qi Yunruo nodded. The rain grew heavier as they walked, a curtain of water forming by the umbrella's rim. Once they had reached Lakeside View House, both were soaked from head to toe. Lulan quickly helped Qi Yunruo remove his wet clothes and prepared him a new set. A clever little eunuch had long since brought over a set of Li Chen's clothes wrapped in waxed paper. Shortly after, 2 bowls of ginger soup arrived from the kitchens of the forecourt. Li Chen gulped it down. On the other hand, Qi Yunruo took a long time to drink his soup, his brows drawn together through it all. He did not like the spiciness of ginger. "When will your highness leave?" Li Chen watched him. "After 3 days. Oh. Today was actually the last day Li Chen would be at his estate. In the evening, Li Chen would bring his people to the western mountain camp and assemble with Zhao Weidu. Then use 2 days' worth of time to turn his men into an organized team and count the rations. After that, he would not return to the capital. He would leave with the army. Come noon, I will return to the palace," said Li Chen. Qi Yunruo looked up. So, Li Chen would only stay in this estate for another 4 to 6 hours? Li Chen gestured for him to approach, until Qi Yunruo was right by his side. He pinched his arms and legs and lightly sighed. "Although it seems like you've eaten more, you're still so thin. This won't do." Qi Yunruo's emotions grew complicated. In a casual manner, he said, "I've been small since I was young. No matter how much I eat, it's still the same." Li Chen checked the sky outside. All of a sudden, a wave of worry crashed into him. Although it wasn't a problem for him or his strong, sturdy guards, wouldn't Qi Yunruo, with his small and frail body, be blown away by the northwestern winds? The two had their own separate thoughts. A moment later, Li Chen shifted his gaze to Qi Yunruo, not knowing what the other party was thinking. He suddenly smiled. He just remembered that he did not yet tell Qi Yunruo his plans of bringing him along. Li Chen swallowed what he truly wanted to say, and instead said, "During your days in the Count Xiang's estate, did the princess consort treat you well?" Qi Yunruo was put in a daze. He did not know how to respond. "Did she treat you poorly?" Qi Yunruo shook his head. He and Qi Nikan did not cross paths often in the Count estate. As such, it was difficult to say whether they had a good relationship or not. He only heard from the low-ranking servant girls that working in the eldest miss courtyard was a most fortunate thing. Or he would hear how the eldest miss wore an article of clothing, wore some piece of jewelry, so eye-catching and beautiful, shockingly stunning to everyone. He and Qi Nikan originally should not have a relationship. Yet fate had tied them together ever since that day. "How did you pass your days at Count Xiang's estate?" Qi Yunruo thought for a moment. Then he broke into a smile. "My days were very simple, with not much to do. There were also not many people around." At that moment, he realized he did not remember much about his time in his previous household. In the 8 years he had spent there, he had nothing to do. Every day, he woke up without a goal or a purpose, and then the end of the day would arrive. It was so lonely, so desolate. Actually, there were things to do. I grew a few Chinese herbaceous peonies in my garden, and they were pleasant to look at when they bloom. Sometimes, I would copy books or go next door and see what they're doing. As Qi Yunruo spoke, his voice grew softer and softer, until it could no longer be heard. Previously, Qi Yunruo had purchased a pair of mother and daughter-in-laws. The older female servant with the surname of Kong used to work at Count Xiang's estate, and had once enjoyed a lot of face. The previous generation's Countess Xiang had personally taught her protocol. She was usually a serious person and took care of Qi Yunruo for 5 years, until he had turned 12 years old. Her son had then gotten married to a second-rank servant girl, and the old servant went into retirement. Later on, her son fell into trouble and brought trouble to the count's estate. What Countess Xiang hated the most was to have something dirty her household's reputation. As such, she sold the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law pair. Li Chen could not purchase the servants who had committed crimes in his father-in-law's estate without a reason. So he investigated this matter. The situation had been simple. Unfortunately, his heart couldn't stay calm. Which large family's young master was not surrounded by older female servants and servant girls while growing up? Qi Yunruo did not enjoy the comfortable and luxurious life deserving of a young master at Count Xiang's estate. Moreover, others used him as an exploitable thing without the least bit of hesitation. Thank goodness I accepted him. After a period of strong winds and heavy rains, the sky quickly cleared, the sun bright above. Li Chen let out a sigh. He then prepared to return to Ink Lotus courtyard. Qi Yunruo rose to his feet and said, "I'll send you off." "All right." As he sent off Li Chen, and while he wasn't paying attention, Li Chen instructed a low-ranking eunuch with a few words. The things he needed in Ink Lotus courtyard had already been prepared. He could, at any time, leave for the Western Mountain camp. Suji and Feng Yuan personally looked over his luggage. Li Chen also personally inspected the guards. Some of the guards from the prince estate were male descendants of families of generals. Li Chen's supporters, the ministers of the court, were planning a future for their descendants. To be a guard of Li Chen's estate was a convenient and effective choice. Li Chen had chosen 60 trusted men. Coupled with the 20 imperial guards sent by the imperial palace, the 2 youths from the Zhou family sent by the empress, the youngest son of Marquis Jingchuan Li Yu, and his own retainers, there was a total of 90 people. Qi Yunruo did not want to leave Li Chen. He stood at the side, sweeping his gaze through people who seemed familiar and people who did not. He felt strange. Were all men subjected to this? Whenever the country faced danger, as long as there was a need, they would don the armor of a soldier and set off to war. Regarding the idiom "the scholar would die for the sake of his confidant," he himself did not have such an opportunity to realize it. His life was probably more similar to the second half of that idiom, embellishing oneself to please the lover. At noon, when Li Chen returned to the imperial palace, Qi Yunruo made for Lakeside View House by himself. His mood was somber and despondent. As he pushed open the door to his house, he caught sight of 2 packages inside. With a doubtful look to her eyes, Lulan asked, "Why did your honored self return?" "This slave was about to send your honored self's luggage to Ink Lotus courtyard." End chapter. Fpyq Jiang. Chapter 24. The Western Mountain Camp. Qi Yunruo stood there, dumbfounded. All of a sudden, he was ecstatic, pure joy pumping from his heart and coursing through his veins. Yet, he also felt it was too good to be true. As if he were walking in a dream. Lulan and Yuji each carried a package, the former saying, "Has your honored self eaten yet?" Qi Yunruo nodded without a word. A smile graced Lulan's lips. "This slave will then send these things off first. May your honored self help yourself to some snacks." "All right." As Qi Yunruo stepped foot deeper into the house, Li Yisou, with her face slightly pale, asked, "Why are you accompanying His Highness to the border? Why haven't I heard about this before?" Not catching clearly what she had said, Qi Yunruo had yet to blink once he sat down. "Does eldest miss know about this?" Li Yisou frowned, feeling awkward. Qi Yunruo turned to glance at her. That one look sent waves of tremors through her body. However, she still opened her mouth and said, "Does eldest miss know about this matter?" So you're sneaking off with His Highness without letting eldest miss know? How do you expect eldest miss to be able to control the inner courtyard from now on? Lowering his gaze, Chi Yunruo entered his thoughts. Chi Nikan was definitely unaware of this. Could it be because of what had transpired this morning that the prince wanted Chi Yunruo to accompany him to the border? Li Yisu was already aware that Winter Plum Courtyard did not trust her. Thus, she wanted to maintain a sturdy position at Lakeside View House, but Lulan and Yuji did not give her the opportunity. Lulan had been clued in long ago to such a huge development. However, it was hidden from Li Yisu, making her seem like a fool. Li Yisu was uncertain as to why she felt so angry toward Chi Yunruo. Hadn't he been doing well when he had lived in the two-house suite back at Winter Plum Courtyard? No one bothered him or gossiped about him back then. So why did he have to seduce the prince? Why did he have to do such things and cause eldest miss unhappiness? Eldest miss was the princess consort. Despite her inner tirade, Chi Yunruo did not bother with Li Yisu. He ate 2 pieces of desserts, not noticing the flavor, before returning to his room to rest. Li Yisu followed him there. But once she saw his appearance, she could not utter a word. Young master! Young master! Xiao Shan sprinted over, breaking the tense silence. In such cold weather, she was actually sweaty from head to toe. Her Highness, the princess consort, has summoned you over. In that instant Li Yisu paled. She looked at Chi Yunruo, drawing her brows together anxiously. He rose to his feet and slipped on his shoes. Xiao Shan softly said, "It's Winter Plum Courtyard's eunuch Yuè Hóu that's waiting outside. Just one look and it's clear this won't be good." Yuè Hóu was the steward eunuch of Winter Plum Courtyard whom Chi Yunruo had punished to the paddle. Once he saw Chi Yunruo leave the comfort of his chambers, he said enigmatically, "Young Master Chi, Her Highness, the princess consort, has summoned you." Chi Yunruo nodded. As Li Yisu rushed forward, Yuè Hóu lightly waved his fly whisk. He stared and he said, "Her Highness, the princess consort, has said for only young Master Chi is to come." Li Yisu sent a look of worry at Chi Yunruo's way, but he only said, "Let's go." Yuè Hóu went on ahead, his pace was slow, as if he wanted to draw out this trip. Meanwhile, Chi Yunruo's thoughts grew more and more chaotic. By the time they had arrived at Winter Plum Courtyard, he still did not possess clarity of thought. Chi Nikan's current expression was so bad to the point of terrifying. Chi Yunruo was originally a dowry escort that followed her into the prince estate, an object used to attract the prince's attention while she herself was pregnant. This seemingly docile and simple young man actually had the ability to, without lifting a finger, make the prince ordered that he be given his own residence, to make the prince care for him more and more, even to the point of taking care of Chi Yunruo himself overnight when he had fallen ill. This caused the resentment curled within Chi Nikan's heart to fester. She had even prepared to be allies with Consort Ji in dealing with Chi Yunruo once the prince left for the border. Who would have known he would actually escape her clutches at the last moment? He actually told the prince to take him along. Truly out of expectations. Currently, Chi Nikan could not help but suspected that behind her back, Chi Yunruo incessantly seduced the prince to the point that he had already influenced the prince's judgment. He just had to deliberately leave right now. And she had no power to keep him here. Chi Yunruo, I underestimated you. A laugh escaped Chi Nikan's lips, tone cold enough to freeze. Not only herself, but her mother and father. They had all underestimated him. Chi Yunruo's calm gaze fell upon her. A long period passed without him saying anything. Then Chi Nikan stared him straight in the eye. Took her time as she said, although you have the ability, so what? You need to remember your identity. To put it nicely, you are just someone who will attend to the prince. But pull back all the layers, and you're merely something Count Xiang's estate did not want, sent to the prince to warm the bed. Don't think that His Highness will actually place you in his heart. In the past, father spent a fortune on Shui Linglong, but what became of her in the end? When that woman had died, father did not so much as see her one last time. So what happened back then? Second sister was sick and youngest sister felt unwell. Father was so worried, so how would he care about that lowly, cheap woman's life? Qi Yunruo's heart suddenly thrashed against his chest. Although Qi Nikan wore a smile, there was a cold and vicious look to her face. Go ahead. Take good care of His Highness. The road is long. The border is frigid and full of suffering. There's nothing of joy there. For His Highness to have a difficult time also causes me sadness. You listen to His Highness' orders well. Whenever he desires, give yourself to him. At that moment, it were as if darkness had swallowed Qi Yunruo whole. Was this true? Was this really the prince's intention? To bring him along to service him? His hands shook. He looked at Qi Nikan and forced himself to stay calm. Then he knelt before her. Your Highness, the Princess Consort, I will take my leave. Not a word left Qi Nikan's lips. She watched as Qi Yunruo rose to his feet and left Winter Plum Courtyard. Once his figure could no longer be seen, she grabbed the teacup next to her and hurled it. The white porcelain cup fell to the ground, tea splashing everywhere. On the carriage, Qi Yunruo closed his eyes. He sat in a calm manner and seemingly asleep. This particular carriage carried both his and Li Chen's luggage. Li Chen's men were riding horses. Traveling on horseback to the western mountain camp took at least 2 hours. Since Qi Yunruo was using a carriage, the trip took even longer. Outside the carriage, Li Yu looked on curiously from time and time. He did not understand why the prince would bring such a young and weak teen along. His eyes darted left and right, harboring mischievous designs. After a moment of thought, he giggled. A young man from a noble family rode his horse over, a smile on his lips. Brother Li, what are you thinking about that's making you so happy? That person was one of the youths from the Zhou family, Zhou Linjian. He was considered in the same generation as Li Chen and Li Yu. His paternal grandfather and Li Chen's maternal grandfather Duke Qinzhen, Zhou Rushan, were blood-related brothers. The other youth that came along from the Zhou family, Zhou Shunye, was technically of a younger generation than the other three, with Zhou Linjian considered as his uncle. He had a youthful face and did not look mature. However, since he was someone trusted by the Empress, Li Yu did not dare underestimate him. Li Yu turned to Zhou Linjian with a smile. You are a great man, sharing the burdens of our country. Can I not be happy about that? Zhou Linjian retorted and praised, truly a descendant of the imperial line, Brother Li's thoughts is something we, ordinary folk can never hope to grasp. Li Yu smiled awkwardly. He deliberately moved farther away from him. Once they had arrived at the western mountain camp, Zhao Weida's personal troops received them. However, they did not draw too many people's notice. Zhao Weida said, I will place you all in my personal guard squad. His Highness, Prince Chun, will be leading that. Now that there aren't any people around, try not to attract too much attention. Quickly enter the camp and change your clothes. Come nightfall, we still need to train. Li Yu was the first to speak. This subordinate understands. The Zhou family's uncle and nephew pair nodded. Then they followed Zhao Weida's personal troops. In the evening, Li Chen and Zhao Weida greeted each other. Then Li Chen returned to his own tent. Prior to this, Qi Yunruo had set down the meals meant for the two of them. He sat on the carpet, lost in his thoughts. Li Chen sat on the carpet across from him. He smiled. Little Qi, how are you? At that moment, Qi Yunruo snapped back to reality. He looked at Li Chen and greeted, Your Highness, you're back. Li Chen stretched his back and said, Let's talk more later. I'm a bit hungry, so we should eat first. Dinner was a dish of marinated beef, a dish of stir-fried vegetables, and a few plain buns. Li Chen did not find it unappetizing. He ate a lot, washing it down with many a cup of water. On the other hand, Qi Yunruo did not eat anything. Is it not to your tastes? Li Chen asked. Qi Yunruo shook his head. That's not it. Are you tired from this afternoon? Qi Yunruo looked at Li Chen. Saw that his gaze was very gentle. As he took it in, his heart softened. Unfortunately, he could not voice his thoughts. Little Qi, the reason why I didn't tell you at the start was because I really wanted to surprise you and see your reaction. Unfortunately, I had to return to the palace today and could not travel together with you here. I failed to consider whether you'd be used to the living conditions here, too. If you don't like it, I'll have someone send you back tomorrow. As soon as Qi Yunruo heard those words, he shook his head. I'm very happy to be able to follow you here. He gave a large bite to a plain bun, then picked up some beef with his chopsticks. Seeing Qi Yunruo's appetite turn hearty, Li Chen felt his spirits were lifted. After their meal, Li Chen changed into the uniform of a centurion, light yellow armor on top. Qi Yunruo had helped him dress, finding it very novel. Li Chen flashed a smile. Does it look good? Qi Yunruo's head bobbed up and down in enthusiastic nods. Your honored self looks good in anything. Li Chen did not comment on that. He reached out and poked Qi Yunruo on the head. He pushed the curtain aside, making his way to Zhao Wei to talk about training the soldiers. Qi Yunruo moved their luggage to a side of the tent. He started to lay out the bedding on the ground. There was only one quilt. At the abrupt realization, his face flushed before his whole body froze. At the camp, if Li Chen wanted to do anything, there would be no escape from feeling embarrassed. Once the candles had almost melted completely, Qi Yunruo lay down on the bedding and quilt. He could hear the shouts of the soldiers outside, so loud that they reached the heavens. Although the sounds of the soldiers' training and yells and reprimands of the commanding officers passed through the thin tent, Qi Yunruo felt calm. He could not live the life of a soldier, even though he wanted to. Now that he was living under these conditions, he felt enveloped in joy. Once Li Chen returned, Qi Yunruo had already slipped into the uniform of a soldier. He carried a basin of water over. Your Highness, come wash up. Li Chen nodded. He sat down on the quilt and removed his boots and socks. Qi Yunruo knelt on the ground and said, there are laundry servants at the camp. One of them, surnamed Wang, will especially takes care of your honored self's clothes. The meals come from General Zhao's cook. Is your honored self satisfied with this? How did you come to know this? Qi Yunruo smiled. When your honored self was not around, the subordinate general under General Zhao, little General Yu, came here and let me know. Li Chen studied Qi Yunruo, who was holding the basin of water for him to wash his feet. Just having my clothes washed is enough. Whichever way the other generals and soldiers have their clothes washed will be how I will have it done. Li Chen paused. Perhaps Li Yu and Zhou Linjian and the rest should do the same. What we eat and use should just be the same as everyone else's. We aren't here to enjoy life. Qi Yunruo nodded. I will remember. Tomorrow I will let them know. Not many people knew that Li Chen was here. Only the high-ranking officers had been privy to this fact. The others just thought that a young master of an aristocratic family was here to gain military merit. As for Qi Yunruo, he was thought of as a servant sent to attend to that young master. After seeing the delicate-skinned and fair-complexioned Qi Yunruo, some soldiers talked among themselves. They felt that this youth's tasks weren't as simple as just taking care of his master's living conditions. Perhaps he also needed to take care of the matters pertaining to the bed. These opinions did not reach Qi Yunruo's ears. He now knew that Li Chen had wanted to bring him along since the beginning, so he was in good spirits, slowly pushing the words of Qi Nikan into the recesses of his mind. After 2 days, Li Chen became so busy to the point where Qi Yunruo could not even glimpse upon his shadow. Qi Yunruo woke up early every day, brought over Li Chen's water and meals and keeping himself busy. However, he found it enriching. Another 2 days later, their camp set off, slowly making their way towards the west. Qi Yunruo rode a horse next to Li Chen's side. Saw how vast the skies above and the lands below were. Although the wind was chilly, the soldiers marched on, their footsteps heavy and their expressions serious while carrying themselves with pride. A glance, and it was clear that there was not a hint of sadness. In fact, in their minds they were forging a distinguished career for themselves through military merit, excitement flooding through their veins. The sound of hoof steps rang through the air. Qi Yunruo turned around. Right at the moment, he saw a familiar figure rush by on a horse. Li Chen pulled his reins and squinted. And he saw Qi Yunying call out to his horse, getting it to stop. He met his fist with his palm and said, "Your Highness, I will follow you to the northwest to expel the Qiang people and protect the border." End chapter. Fpyq Qiang. Chapter 25. Qi Yunying. Li Chen furrowed his brow and asked, "Does father-in-law know that you're here?" Qi Yunying shook his head. "Father does not know. He really wanted me to take the imperial exams half a month from now. However, I am not as good at studying as my brother. If I were to gain an official rank, it would only come from a sizable donation. Instead of failing the exam and having my father buy my way into the Qian New Guards or join the capital garrison, why not just follow your honored self and forge a good future for myself?" Qi Yunying had spoken in a very frank manner, causing Li Chen to smile. Younger brother-in-law is ambitious. To which Qi Yunying lowered his head in embarrassment. His horse neighed. It was shrill to the ears. "Good," said Li Chen. "Follow me." Once Qi Yunying had joined their group, the Zhou family's uncle and nephew pair shared a perplexed glance. Qi Yunying was unaware that after he had left, Count Xiang's estate blew up. His father was the leader of the capital garrison. Although this position was only that of a fourth-rank official, the status it brought was nothing to scoff at. His subordinates commanded the imperial guards. Every 3 days they would patrol, and today was such a day. At noon, he returned home to the sight of Qi Yunying's letter. And an instant later, his face became unsightly to the extreme. This unfilial son! Count Xiang slammed his palm on the table. Previously, Qi Yunying had told him he wanted to temper himself and gain experience in the military. And Count Xiang had firmly denied this second son. In his opinion, the members of his household should have long since ceded connections with the military. Yet in the end, Qi Yunying actually sneaked off. Cold as ice, the countess said, "The count has raised a good son." Qi Yunchen was still studying diligently behind closed doors. As such, he did not come to know about this matter. "Master should think about it," said the countess. "The imperial exam will be held next month. How can we explain this to others? Since it will only be Shanner at the test site, won't people think that I, the legitimate mother, am suppressing the illegitimate son? That I am forbidding him from taking the exam? Right, I forgot to tell the count. A few days ago, Kuner sent a letter. Your other good son has also followed the prince to the border." This caught Count Xiang in surprise. "Yunruo." She gritted her teeth. "I never thought he had such measures. Truly a son born from a fox. In the future, how could our Kuner keep her dignity? Weren't you the one who had planned this?" The countess stood still in shock. Count Xiang picked up Qi Yunying's letter. "Help me prepare clothes. I will be entering the palace." She could tell his mood was of a strange flavor and did not continue to speak in a sarcastic way, calling for some servant girls to fetch his formal court robes and help him change. Count Xiang said, "Eat dinner by yourself. You don't have to wait for me." As his figure shrank into the distance, Countess Xiang watched him, a light frown on her face. Marshal Hero Hall. This official's second son is crude and impetuous. As such, to fix his personality, this official has attempted to restrain him and wants him to walk the path of a civil official. Who would have known that this second son would just leave a letter explaining his departure and exit the capital like that? Perhaps he has already caught up to His Highness, Prince Chun, by now. As Count Xiang knelt, he helplessly said, "First, this official's son does not have what it takes to be a leading general. Second, this official's household has already declined over the generations. This official only hopes that the sons will build on the achievements of the predecessors on the civil path, so that in the future the family can grow. Yunying is too daring." The emperor could not help but smile. He had the eunuchs bring over a chair for Count Xiang. "Children aren't sensible. Weren't we the same back then?" Noticing that the emperor did not seem angry, Count Xiang finally felt a wave of relief wash over him. After he gave his thanks, he sat in the seat provided. The emperor saw that the sky was growing dark. He then called for the evening meal to be served for the two of them. Count Xiang did not expend too much effort in refusing. Both the emperor and his subject indulged in a taste of alcohol. "Which young men do not want to forge a distinguished career for themselves through military merit," said the emperor. "For the sake of the country and for themselves. In this way, the dynasty will have no shortage of talents." In a modest manner, Count Xiang said, "There will naturally be many great talents willing to serve your majesty. This official understands my son. This time, if he does not cause trouble for His Highness, Prince Chun, it would already be good enough." A smile spread on the emperor's lips and he shook his head. Out of the blue, he asked, "We recall that you have 3 sons. The youngest is attending by His Highness, Prince Chun's side." The emperor grunted in acknowledgement and did not ask further. After the meal, Count Xiang was preparing to leave. The emperor said to the eunuch beside him, "It's windy at night. Give the gorilla fur cloak that we wore yesterday to Count Xiang." Count Xiang quickly gave his thanks, received the cloak, and retreated. But once the doors closed, the smiles on both the emperor and his subjects' faces vanished. Count Xiang's youngest son is already 16. So it already has been 16 years. No wonder we often feel old. Once Count Xiang got on the road, he could not help but recall his ancestors. Back then, the Qi family had assisted the Li family in removing the previous dynasty, replacing old with new. However, when it came time for each family to receive their rewards, the Qi family did not receive much. Duke, Marquis, Count, Viscount, and Baron. Of the 5, the Qi family patriarch had only been conferred the title of a count. Their family got laughed at by those families that had contributed less yet received the titles of Duke and Marquis. For 4 generations, each Count Xiang sacrificed blood and sweat to secure the border. It was in this way that they were able to lift their family to the position it enjoyed now. However, with just a simple thought from the highest one under the heavens, all that this family had worked for could disappear. Come night time, as everyone gathered to set up camp, Li Chen invited Qi Yunying to his tent for dinner. The Zhou family's uncle and nephew pair, Li Yu, and the 4 guards from Prince Chun's estate accompanied them. What they had drunk was hard liquor. The young masters of renowned families were not accustomed to it and the liquor stirred their baser male tendencies. They let go of their manners and face, gobbling food with no regard for how they appeared and chatting loudly among themselves. Li Chen sat at the side and did not join in their conversation. Qi Yunruo also sat at the side, eating in silence. Either on purpose or unintentionally, Zhou Shunye kept on looking at him. Meanwhile, Zhou Linjian was wrapped in a conversation with Li Yu. Then Zhou Linjian turned his attention to the dishes laying before them. He sighed, the emotion in his voice nearly palpable. "From now on, perhaps we would only be able to eat bran and vegetables. This kind of opportunity to partake in meat and wine will be rare." The chief guard of Prince Chun's estate, Chu Qing, said, "It is as His Highness has said. We are not here to enjoy life." Zhou Linjian shifted his gaze toward him and smiled. "I've heard that Sir Chu is from the northwest region." Chu Qing also broke into a smile. "This subordinate is from Suzhou. My father is from the south and my grandfather is the one from the northwest. The Chu family is a renowned family from the northwest region. Perhaps they are very knowledgeable of the situation there, said Zhou Linjian. In the next moment, it became silent. Following that, Chu Qing's countenance grew solemn. He said, to be frank, the Chu family originally had many business ties with the people beyond the border. However, in the past few years, half of these relationships had been snatched by the country of Xinyuan. Not to mention, the border fell into disorder. It became harder and harder to travel through the territories. The Chu family has not been as grand as in the past for a long time. Those around did not know how much they should believe these words. However, they still nodded. Qi Yunruo ate until he was half full. He used this interval to pour a drink for Li Chen. After filling the wine bowl halfway, he noticed Li Chen was shaking his head. Qi Yunruo cast his gaze down and continued to eat. Zhou Linjian's expression darkened a shade. He shared a look with Zhou Shunye, this time with not a change to their countenances. Zhou Shunye drank a full bowl of liquor and sighed. No wonder they say alcohol gives you courage. Right now I can feel the heat fill my body. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll still have the guts to do it. He smiled at Qi Yunruo. Why is this young master not drinking? Qi Yunruo said, I don't drink alcohol. Zhou Shunye widened his eyes, his pretty and youthful face frozen in shock. How can a man not drink alcohol? I won't lie to you guys. This is my first time drinking. In the past, my young uncle forbid me. As Qi Yunruo drew his brows together, Li Chen smiled. Don't make things hard for him. He can only handle sweet osmanthus wine, or else once he's drunk he'd be quite the sight. Qi Yunying dropped his gaze at his own bowl of liquor. Not a word left his lips. Zhou Shunye lifted his bowl. Your Highness, I toast your honored self a bowl. I wish your honored self success in your endeavors, and exterminate all the enemies. Then he gulped down the liquor. Li Chen also downed his bowl in one gulp. He set the empty bowl aside. After the meal and drinks were finished, the crowd of people bid their farewell and returned to their tents. Qi Yunruo placed the dirty dishes and cups into a meal box and carried it outside. Qi Yunying, who had been walking ahead of him, slowed down his pace until he was walking next to his younger brother. Without saying a word, he reached out and took the meal box from Qi Yunruo's hands and he carried it away. A few steps later, he asked, Where do these go? Qi Yunruo did not say a word. Instead, he pointed at a direction before making his way there as well. At the camp, there would be 3 to 5 people patrolling every now and then, and every 70 to 80 feet they would place down a torch. This way, there would be no dark areas, making it harder for intruders to sneak in. Qi Yunruo and Qi Yunying walked all the way to the kitchen area. A few men wearing the uniform of low-ranking soldiers took their meal box. Then Qi Yunruo went off in another direction to fetch some water. For a while, Qi Yunying followed him. Eventually, he couldn't hold his curiosity back any longer. For you to be here. Was it His Highness' idea? What Qi Yunying actually wanted to ask was if he was here to attend to Li Chen's living conditions. Once again, not a word left Qi Yunruo. Qi Yunying said, I think you shouldn't have come. It may be dangerous in the future. This sparked a perplexed look from Qi Yunruo. Then why are you here? Qi Yunying kept a straight face. I'm not suited for studying, and definitely would not be able to pass the imperial exams. Forging a distinguished career through military merit is what every good man should do. After Qi Yunruo arrived at his tent, Qi Yunying returned to his own next door. He did not continue their prior topic of conversation, falling into his thoughts on the contrary. Qi Yunruo would not have the opportunity to build a career using military merit. So why would he come here to suffer? In fact, he seemed to gladly endure the hardship of his tasks. Qi Yunying found it awkward and uncomfortable, even if the person his brother was attending to was His Highness. Qi Yunruo, meanwhile, was not aware of his strange thoughts. He carried the bucket of water into the tent, and then laid down the bedding. Li Chen was reading under the candlelight. He glanced up from his book, his gaze falling upon the busy figure of the back before him. The corners of his lips slowly tilted up. "Come here." His voice was somewhat husky. Qi Yunruo shook the dust off his hands and approached him. He knelt down on one knee. Li Chen stroked his somewhat messy hair. "Are you tired?" Shaking his head, Qi Yunruo smiled. No, today, he had ridden a horse and found the experience novel. He learned to ride quickly, the speed of which surprised even Li Chen. Fortunately, he had worn a thick pair of pants and did not chafe his legs. However, his thighs were still a bit red and sore to the touch. With gentle hands, Li Chen helped him apply pain-relieving ointment. The two lay down on the bed. Li Chen then sat up and helped massage Qi Yunruo's waist and lower back, the latter finding it both painful and comfortable. One moment a laugh would escape his lips and the other moment a groan. Finally, he succumbed to slumber. Not once had Li Chen thought of indulging in the matters of the flesh while in the camp. He held Qi Yunruo close to his chest, found a comfortable position, and fell asleep. Their neighbors, however, felt differently. They did not know that Qi Yunying, who was staying in the tent next to theirs, had widened his eyes the moment Qi Yunruo started making noises. And Li Yu, who was sharing his tent, accompanied him in tossing and turning in bed. Unable to fall asleep, Qi Yunying took a trip down memory lane. At Count Xiang's estate, the position of Qi Yunshan, the eldest legitimate son who was skilled in both the pen and sword, was unshakable. The person with the next highest position was the eldest legitimate daughter, Qi Nikan. Due to Count Xiang's status, the eldest miss would one day marry into an aristocratic family. But no one had expected for her to become Princess Consort Chun. Apart from this sibling pair, there was Qi Yunying. Although his birth mother died when he was young, he was still a son of the household, and as such still held importance in the count's eyes. Since he was young, he and Qi Yunshan had studied together and practiced martial arts. Because her birth mother, concubine Lu, was favored by the count, the second miss of Count Xiang's estate, Qi Dangxia, also had some status. Then there was Qi Ruxu. Her birth mother used to be a servant girl before becoming a concubine. That said, her birth mother was beautiful and young, and Qi Ruxu was also the youngest child. So Count Xiang would always have a share for them whenever there was something to give out. However, after Qi Yunying was much older, he learned that he actually had a younger brother. When Qi Yunruo had entered the estate, Qi Yunying had been 10 years old. No one had told him about this earlier. Until during the New Year's Eve, when he followed the older female servant in charge of supervising him to pay respects to his father and legitimate mother. Back then, he saw the serious Granny Kong with a weak and small boy. After Qi Yunying had asked the servant about him, she vaguely said he was raised by outsiders and that the second young master should not play with him. Afterward, when it came time for Qi Nikan to marry, as Qi Yunying accompanied the guests in the banquet to drink, he discovered that the younger brother he had not seen often these past few years was to follow Qi Nikan. That he was to enter Prince Chun's estate as a dowry escort. The next time he saw Qi Yunruo, it was when he, his brother, and his father visited the prince's estate because of Qi Nikan's good news. A frail boy had greeted them, before moving to calmly stand at the side. The next day, shadows rimmed Qi Yunying's eyes. Li Yu snickered. Once they had exited their tent, he caught sight of Qi Yunruo lifting a basin of water into Li Chen's tent, a spring to his step. And Li Yu snickered again. The army set off. Qi Yunruo followed Li Chen's side by horse. The sky and land were vast. There were many things he no longer wanted to think about. Sometimes, he wanted to shout. Wanted to hear how his voice would sound echoing in the wind. When noon arrived, they rested for 30 minutes, further regaining energy by eating some rations. Qi Yunruo retrieved from his breast pocket beef jerky that was wrapped in wax paper. He tore a large half for Li Chen. A smile graced Li Chen's lips as he received the piece and handed his canteen to Qi Yunruo. One large sip later, Qi Yunruo secured the canteen on his horse. After 3 days, the army was a long distance from the capital. Qi Yunruo glanced toward the east. Occasionally, he felt that the trouble at the capital was far away. End chapter.